Hello, my name is Danny and I'm an addict.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, and I'm happy to do this, man. Yeah, I've been clean for a while, man, and the opportunity to do this and send a message to places I can't get to regularly is a blessing. So, my clean date is August 9th, 1974. If you look in your history books, you'll see that's the same day Nixon resigned. I know because the day before, I was in a county jail, and he announced his resignation effective tomorrow, and I got loaded. You know, I drank some Pruno, I smoked a couple of joints, and took some detox meds. The next day they called my name and sent me to Turning Point in Sonoma County in Santa Rosa, and to be screened to see if I was eligible for treatment. And by chance I got kept that day. You know, I was sitting in the office and talking to an old dopey I knew from the streets. And he was doing the interview and he says, "You sound like you're ready, man. I'm gonna put you on the list." And the phone rang, and he told the kid that transported me up there from the jail, said that was the director of the program. He said, "If you got somebody in the office, keep them, because there's somebody leaving right now." So I got to be the newest resident with a phone call. It took a few more phone calls and a couple of hours to get a judge to sign it okay for me to stay. You know, so I got introduced to a treatment program that day. And that night, they loaded us in the back of a pickup truck. And you probably all go to jail themselves today for doing that. But they put us in the back of a pickup truck and took us to this place in Santa Rosa and to an NA meeting, a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I had no idea what the hell that was. But I was willing to do anything because it got me out of jail that day. And I went to this meeting, and most of us came from the treatment center, and they did some readings and lit some candles and turned the lights out and prayed, and I thought, oh, what have I gotten myself into? Then they turned it over to this guy, and he told a story, and he talked about things that we identify with, the choice of drugs, the way we go about getting them, and the feelings that we obtain behind them, or the feelings we get away from by using our drugs of choice. And I identified with him immediately, and then he talked about some things I didn't identify with so well. How to keep a job, how to maintain a relationship, how to pay bills, how to have things in your own name, and things like that. And I said, man, that must be that sponsor dude they was telling me about. So after the meeting, I asked him, I said, hey, they said, I gotta have a sponsor, man. You sound like you know what's happening. How about it? He said, well, we'll see, and walked off. So when I was in the back of the truck on the way back to the treatment facility, I was telling the people back there with me, I said, I don't know about that guy that shared, man. I asked him to be my sponsor. He didn't ask for my phone number or where I lived or anything. And they said, he laughed at me. I said, what's so funny? He said, he's the director of the program. So the guy that became my first sponsor was the person that called when I was in the office being screened and said, if you got somebody in the office, keep them, because there's somebody leaving right now. So, and Frank taught me a lot of things before he passed away from this disease. One of the first things he taught me, I was raised a Catholic, so wherever you find four Catholics, you'll find a fifth. Something. So, I can play dominoes better than you can. That's what I know about Catholicism. But anyway, every time he spoke, every time we went to meetings, people were talking about spirituality and a higher power of this and a higher power of that. And so I told him one day, I finally got some time with him, which was not easy to do. Every time he showed up, the people at the facility were like seagulls around a fishing boat. They flocked around him. And so I finally got him alone for a minute out in the back, man, and said, hey, Frank. He said, yeah, Dan. I said, man, I'm having trouble with the spiritual side of this program. And it stopped him. I thought, finally I'm going to have a conversation with my sponsor. And he said, that's bad news. That's the only side there is, and walked off. So at that moment I understood that I had a decision to make. Did I want this, or did I not want this? And if having a spiritual lifestyle was what's going to keep me out of jails and dope houses, off the streets, and out doing the things that I know how to do best, and so be it. You know, I made that decision that day, man. Then later on, Frank came in and told me another thing, man. I was sitting at the table at Turning Point. He came in and slammed his hand on the table and said, Danny, don't take nothing. I said, well, you loaded? You know, I was joking with him, but I mean, because they take 2 bottles a week, and if I go outside by myself, they want another one. How could I be taking anything? And he said, Danny, I'm not talking about drugs. You signed up for a drug program. That's pretty, you know, that goes without saying. Don't take nothing. Don't take things that don't belong to you. Don't take unfair advantage of people. Don't take things for granted. If you take things for granted, things you are granted will be taken. And so I knew immediately what he was talking about when he had meetings and sharing. He says, there's only one thing you have to change when you come here. That's everything. And so I immediately started looking at what I had to do because that was my lifestyle. I took stuff, you know, and I didn't care much about where it came from. If you left a room and left a pack of cigarettes on the table, those were mine. When you came back, I might even offer you one. So, you know, anyway, so that was my entire lifestyle, taking stuff. And you know, and to let you know just how bad this disease got for me, I'd been released from jail one time and they didn't keep me long enough to kick, man. My nose was running, my back was hurting, man. And I got out, so I headed for Sanctuary, right? I went home to Mom. I was going to head to Mom's, man. And on the way into town, I lived in this place called Marin City. And on the way into town, this couple of guys I knew said, hey, Danny, yeah, what, man? He said, we're looking for some TVs. If you bring us some TVs, man, we're holding. I said, okay. So I went to my mom's house and she was watching TV. So I stole my mother's TV while she was watching it. You know, put it under my arm, took it out of the house, took it down to these guys, got my dope, went back, held the door to her bathroom closed with my feet because she lived alone. She didn't need to have locks on the bathroom. And shot my dope. You know? And so that gives you an idea where this disease took me. You know, I know shame and I know guilt now. You know, I'm guilty for having stolen a TV, but I'm ashamed of the kind of person that would do that when his mother was watching. So anyway, then I started into working these steps, you guys. You know, wholeheartedly, man. You know, I got through the first 3 pretty good, and I thought I was doing good, and my sponsor said it's time for the 4th. He brought me a tablet of paper, 2 pencils, and a roll of toilet paper, so you get started. And I said, well, see, searching that fearless moral inventory. I said, okay, so I scribbled out what I thought my inventory was, and took it to him, and he said, man, that's a pile of crap, let's burn that and flush it, you know, and that's what he did. I thought, man, I poured my heart out into that. He says, but Danny, it was every immoral thing you ever did in your life. You should clearly understand what your morals are now. Do a search and service moral inventory. You know, and that's when his stories about the melting pot of silver started to come to mind to me. Is you know, he always talked about silver. You put it into a pot and heat it up, and the impurities come to the top, and you scrape it off. Keep the heat on it longer, more impurities come to the top, and you scrape it off. It takes a long time to get pure silver. That's what we do in this program with our 4 steps. And I immediately got into the 5th step with him, and did that with my whole heart, man. And I got into character defects and shortcomings. You know, and then I got into the positive 8th and 9th step. When I first did that 4-step the right way, I knew the list of people I had harmed. It was pretty easy. You know, I understand clearly. And guess who was on top? The lady that owned that TV that I took. You know, and so at 6 months clean, they offered me a job at this treatment center. In the first 2 months, they called me a staff orientation or staff trainee, I forget, one or the other. You know, 2 months as a orientation, 2 months as a trainee. In the first 2 months, they didn't pay me nothing. They gave me 2 days off a week and told me to go somewhere else. So I stay on people's couches and stuff. I found I could make more money on the weekends than they were paying me, you know, on my days off. So, you know, I found odd jobs and stuff to do on the weekends. And the third and fourth month, they paid me $50 a month. Now we're rolling. You know, I'm rolling in dough now, right? But I was making enough money on my days off that I saved those 2 checks. You know, there was a guy in what we called third phase back then. They had this monstrosity of a TV called a Magnavox. They had a shelf on it, a record player. He wanted $100 for it, and I told him I'd give him 90. you know how we do. So anyway, he took the 90, and I took $10 and gave it to a friend of mine named Frank, another friend, not my sponsor. And he had a little truck at the time. $10 actually bought a little bit of gas back then in 1975. And we put the TV on the back of his truck and took it down to Marin City when my mom still lived. And took the TV in, and I was making my amends, trying to hook it up and telling her how sorry she had to see where the disease took me, and you know, making sure it worked for her. And I bought the record player because she had all these old country and western gospels, you know, Hank Snow and The Wings of a Dove and all that kind of stuff, you know. And so I got the record player for it too. And I trying to make sure it was all working and everything. I turned around, my mom and my friend were both crying. And my mom was thanking to God, but I still said I didn't understand. So that day I understood what the freedom from active addiction was all about. You know, that day I walked a little lighter. I held my head up a little higher. I could look people in the eye again. You know, and you know, instead of walking around like I lost $1 everywhere I went. You know? So anyway, that's what this program is capable of doing for us. You know, it's bringing us to a new sense of freedom. Man. I always thought freedom was when they let me out that door. You know, and then this program taught me what true freedom is. You know, I worked at Turning Point for about 2 years. And I moved on from there, and I ended up working for the county of Sonoma in detox and residential treatment, and worked there for 76 to 89. In 1989, I got a promotional position, started working at the Sonoma County Jail. And I took treatment into the jails, and from 89 to 2002, when I retired because of a medical condition, I forgot to quit smoking, guys. You know, 24 years in this program, I finally quit smoking. You know, and at 25 years in this program, I was diagnosed with non-small cell carcinoma. That's when they cut me in half and moved the upper lobe of the left lung. They also cut my throat and stuck a camera down there. And 2 years later, it came back, metastasized to the bones, and I did chemo and radiation treatments for that. The doctor gave me 6 months to live, so I had 4-stage cancer. And I quit working that day. And I saw a new spiritual experience, you know. I saw harder to find out who my higher power was, what he meant to me. You know, meditation became very important to me. And I did a lot of it because I'd sit in chairs for 5-6 hours while they were pumping chemicals in me. And so I did a lot of meditation, man, and I came to grips with the fact that I may not ever know who the higher power is completely. I may not understand his identity, but the fact that I know that there is one and it ain't me is my saving grace. You know, and I look for the message of my higher power through other people. You know, my friend told me about something I said at a meeting one time just before we started this room about, you know, when in between working for Turning Point in the county, I went down back to Marin City when my mom was in the hospital. So I went down and was taking care of her place, her dog and her cat. And I found a little job down there. And every day a guy I grew up with would offer me something. You know, Danny, I got some weed, man. I got some reds. You know, I love them reds, man. You know, I got some Cavassier and cocaine, and I got some of this, I got some of that, I got some of the other, man. Every day it was different drugs and different combinations of drugs. For 2 months I was telling him, go away. I told him I don't do that anymore. And smoke them, so I'm smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, thinking, I sure hope he shows up today. Because I had the urge, you know, and there was a knock on the door. And so, like a streak of lightning, I opened the door and it wasn't him. It was a mailman. And it wasn't the regular mailman in Red City at the time was a Baptist minister named Reverend Small. You know, this was a substitute mailman from the Sausalito substation, man. And I met this mailman 2 months earlier in San Jose. He was a speaker at an NA meeting. You know, and he said, you know, rain, sleet, and snow and all that, puppy dogs don't stop the mail. But I told him what was happening, and I was happening in the possession. And he stopped for a minute and said, you got a meeting book? And they didn't have any NA in Marin at that time, so we looked in the AA book, man. You know, and I found a noon book study meeting. He says, you need to go to that book study meeting. I said, okay. So I got ready and jumped in my car and headed to I knew exactly where it was in Mill Valley, across the street from where I went to school, high school, for the few days I went there. And walked in, sat down, there's a book there, I picked it up, and, you know, the big book of AA, man, but, you know, because it didn't have a book yet, you know, and that lady next to me read paragraphs. I read a paragraph, and, oh, you have such a nice voice, can you read another paragraph? So I read to the end of the chapter, actually, it's only about a half a page. And so I read, and the lady up front says, we're going to take a little break now, so that people can smoke, step outside and have a cigarette. So I went outside to have a cigarette. I went to the matter smoking, and looked at this lady standing next to me. I said, man, there sure is a lot of women at this meeting. She said, it's been a woman's new book study. So, yeah, I boatlegged a woman's meeting, man, and they didn't ask me to leave, man. And what I did is I came back in after the smoke break, and humbly thanked them. They helped me get through a very rough time. And I got to pay that back later on, man, in life. I worked at the county jail, and where I worked, they had a section that had two fences and razor wire around it. And I said, what do you got in there, murderers? They said, no, that's where the women live. Oh, I said, well, what do you do for them? Nothing. Wasn't it discrimination? Can you do something? I said, of course I can. So as a professional, I started doing treatment groups at the jail there for women, along about 1991. And that was a blessing and an opportunity. I went and I had met in Narcotics Anonymous, ran into Narcotics Anonymous, and learned how to live one day at a time through this magnificent program. And the steps, through sponsorship, through all the wonderful people I know here. And to give you an idea just how important that, after I retired in 2002 because of terminal illness that forgot to terminate me, in 2004, as they end, I was given 6 months to 2 years to live. And at the end of 2 years, I guess they figured, well, he's not going to die, let's put him back to work. And I met a colleague and asked me if I wanted to come back to work, so I started doing anger management groups for drug court. And they saw my name on the list, and the guy that took my place out of the jail said, you want to come out here and do some work too? I said, sure, why not? So I've been working part-time at the jail and at drug court ever since, And what's that, from 2004 to 2016. And I was supposed to be dead by 2004, so anyway, I guess the higher power has a different plan for me than the doctors. It's amazing what happens, man. I was also, I'd been retired, and I had this wonderful lady in my life, and I found this beautiful house up on Cobb Mountain in Lake County, California. It's a brand new house, and I purchased it, and we moved in there. I kind of drug her up there, her heels dragging in this. But once she got up in the mountains, she loved it, man. I loved the serenity of the trees, and everything, all the animals. She had deer eating out of her hands up there, man. And then on September 12th, 2015, my house burnt to the ground, And when I was at the Unity Day last year, they texted me a message and said, you can go up on the hill and look at what's left of your property. And I went up there and there was nothing left of my property. You know, everything was gone. You know, and she broke down like a baby and I put my arm around her and told her, honey, it's just stuff. You know, little did I know at that time that 5 weeks later, she would pass. On October 20th, 2015, I lost, the lady I lived with for the previous 12 years. And my life changed immediately. If it hadn't been for Narcotics Anonymous, I'd still be laying around somewhere sucked up, depressed. But NA came to my rescue. They held me up when I couldn't stand up. And surrounded me. As well as my personal family, and helped me get through a very, very rough time. I can't say that time is completely over yet. In a few weeks, it's going to be the anniversary of my lady passing, October 20th. And the remarkable thing about it, she passed away on what would have been my father's 95th birthday. And so this year I was talking to her daughter, and she wants to come spend the day with me on October 20th, just me and her, in honor of her mother. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity, I get to share with her. She grew up in the East Coast away from her mother, and she's asking me all these questions about where'd she get these traits from. She acts just like her mother, and so, and she's a half foot shorter. She's like 5'2", her mother was 5'8", so she calls herself a mini-me. Anyway, I get to share with her some of the things she didn't know about her mother, and until her first hand, just how caring and loving her mother was. So anyway, I can't tell you how grateful I am to Narcotics Anonymous, the people, the friends, the family, all the wonderful things I've come to know and love in this program. I presently live I'm rebuilding my house up on Cobb, and I live in a motorhome with Valerie's 5 little dogs. So that's kind of interesting, She had a Chihuahua and a rat terrier that decided to have a family, and so there's 5 of these little rat chow rats, or whatever you want to call them. And somehow or another they yap at everybody, but they love me. What can I say, man? They've learned to accept me. I thought at first I was going to lose the main one, her first dog, And somehow the dog is taken to me, man, and sleeps under my arm at night. So, and people say, why do you do that? Why don't you just find them homes? And I explained that when last I talked to Valerie, was in the hospital at UCSF, and she was concerned about her dogs, and I said, don't be. They'll be well cared for. And she went into surgery and never regained consciousness. So, if nothing else, NA's taught me how to be true to my word. And I intend to take care of them dogs till either I or they die, by natural circumstances. And that's just the way it is. I don't know how to do it any different. It's as weak as my word was before I came to NA, the strength of my word today is sometimes frightening to me. But when I say something, I mean it, and I try to live up to it to the best of my ability. NA's given me the opportunity to be that kind of man. 42 years ago, he put me in a room by myself. I was with my worst enemy. Today, he put me in a room by myself, and I'm with my best friend. That's what NA's given me. So, I could go on, but I think I pretty much said it all in a short amount of time, and that's basically what I wanted to do. Let you or whoever's watching this film know that NA is a powerful ally. You know, it will save you, man. You give yourself to it, it will protect you, take care of you when you can't take care of yourself. They say in the meetings, we'll love you till you learn to love yourself. And those words are true. Truth words I've run into. So, you know, if you're new, welcome here, welcome to NA. You know, pick this up wherever you're at and take it with you wherever you go. It will serve you in your life and your family and whoever else, man. Everyone you touch will be affected by what you've learned, what you learned in Narcotics Anonymous in the 12 steps. So, thank you for listening to me.